I love those intro videos. Jesus Christ, well done. Good job, Archie. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to KvltDeFi. This is the channel, as you know, where we bring you really the latest and greatest in innovations in tech in decentralized finance. What we really try to do is showcase, teams and protocols and tech, really, that exemplify what it means to be true DeFi, right? We're all here for DeFi. Tonight, we have a pretty special hour for you, really, hour, 2 hours, however long it goes on. We have got a Q&A session with DevJacob, the Godfather of MAFIA himself, the man behind the scenes, the wizard behind the curtain, shall we say. And we've got some pretty heavy hitters, not only on the MAFIA scene, but also in the general pulse chain community scene, actually. We're going to be bringing up everyone as we go, right? It's going to be a bit fluid today. We might have people that are going to be joining us a bit later. People might be dropping out to do their own things. I can tell you right now that if you are subscribed to Hex Token's channel, Superman, he actually has a live after this one. So make sure you go over and check that out too, right? I think we can start to bring up people slowly and steady. We've got a bunch of people in the house. I think this is great. I love doing these. So first off, we have KoolAid, my buddy. There we go. How you doing, man?
Good.
We have got Richie, who is the Don of the Black Thistles, who signed up recently. We've done a few streams together. How you doing, man?
What's going on, Richie?
You're unmuted, mate.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey. How you doing, Richie?
Talk to you, actually.
Glad to be here.
Happy to be here. Yeah.
Cool. We have got Triplet Dad, one of my buddies in the Pulse Chain community, founder himself, bunch of protocols, been around for a long time, right?
Damn,
really, one of the OGs, one of the OG hexagons, OG pulsicans, pulsexicans, and all the rest of it, right? So thanks very much for joining us, man.
How are you, buddy? Thank you for having me on. I appreciate the invite.
No worries. We have also got Crypto Cuban. We got Mike, who is the Don of the newest family actually on BNB at the moment, is the Warriors. How you doing?
What up, guys?
What's going on?
Glad to be here.
Good to have you. It's good to have you. And then we have two members of the syndicate. We have got the Consigliere, Superman himself, Hex Token. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
And we have Archie, the Don of the syndicate and the directoress, whichever way you want to look at it. How you doing, Archie? You all right?
Hey, what's up, fellas? How's it going?
What's going on, brother?
Good. I'm enjoying this. I like having bunches of people.
It makes it fun.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
This is giving me Brady Bunch vibes.
Yeah, or Hollywood Squares. I would like to take Superman 4-0. Try to go and get that going down the line.
I'd like all the points for 500, Alex.
Guys, really, thanks very much for taking the time to do this. We know absolutely that Mafia right now is starting to pick up a bit of speed. We know really that, we'll get into the bones of it as we go along, and we're going to have Jacob on with us as well in a few minutes. Really, we have a map which is upcoming, right? I wanted to ask as well, a bunch of people have been sending me messages over the last couple of days that they want me to ask on their behalf. I'm sure you guys have a bunch of questions yourself. No doubt there will be a bunch of questions in the chat. I can actually see there's already some popping up over here already. So as we continue to get going, if it's a thing that you have any questions that you have been asked to ask on someone else's behalf, feel free to shout them out as well, and we can try to get them a bit of notoriety, should we say. I'm pretty sure we've got a lot of really clever cookies in our families, in our ecosystems over here, so I think we'll be okay. Sound good?
Yep.
Sounds great.
Let's do it. Rock and roll.
Cool. All right. Well, look, we've got some. This is the first time for a lot of you guys to actually be speaking. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about you. Richie, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my name's Richie. I'm from the UK. I also play around quite a lot in Pulse Chain as well, but not so much the last 6 months, but always looking for good things to get into. So actually quite interested in the stream too, to find some new things to play around with in Pulse Chain, which is great. Run a YouTube channel, so I'm also streaming this on my channel as well to try to get more eyes on BNB Mafia, because that's the most important thing. So I guess anyone who's on my channel watching and you see any of these guys And you hear anything that you're interested in getting into, then let me know and I'll link you up, because that's what I'm all about. And that's pretty much it. I pretty much a degenerate, and I like investing in lots of things and making passive income from crypto. That's what I talk about. That's run a DAO, which is an NFT DAO. Been about 2 years now. We've been doing that. And randomly, pretty much that's about it, really. Feel a bit shy. There's too many people.
It's like being called to the front of the class, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'll have some wine.
Cool. Triplet Dad, go ahead and tell us what you've got cooking, brother.
Thanks for having me on, bud. Nice to meet you guys. I haven't streamed with a couple of you before. KoolAid, Superman, KVlt for sure, but Crypto Cuban, Richie, and Archipelago. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, that's
we are Ty and I run Magic Carpet Ride, right? We started out just doing pools and stuff like that for all the sacrifices that were upcoming. That's how we got our feet in the water, and then we came out with our first dApp of Barista, which is basically B protocol on Ethereum, but for Pulse chain, so front end for liquid loans. Tomorrow, our OTC looks like it goes live, so that's pretty awesome. And I think could be some conversations here, because if families wanted to do deals for bullets and stuff like that, you might be able to do them on an OTC instead of having to go to experience slippage or what have you on swaps. So that's just an idea we could talk about later. And for the first time ever on YouTube, Steakhouse is done. So it will be on testnet probably tomorrow. And that's a hex staking protocol. We have an additional dApp that comes after that, but I don't want to take up the rest of the show, but that's our pressing events right now.
That sounds awesome. Mike, introduce yourself to the boys.
So I am Mike Crypto Cuban. I'm a member of the Warriors DAO. Also been in the crypto space for about 5-6 years now, dabbling mostly in Binance. Done a few things now on Base and getting my feet wet now in the Sui blockchain. Thanks to Richie. Richie's opened my eyes to that, as well as some of our other warriors have been getting into Sui, and I've been following suit with that. We're going along, moving up on our own platforms. We're going to be launching pretty soon, and I'm really excited to hear what's going on with Mafia, man.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Superman, do you want to run up next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Good to see Richie Crypto and Crypto Cuban. Welcome, guys, and your families. It's great having your families in the game. More the merrier. So I'm the consigliere for the directorate. We've got the Don of Dons, Archie down below there. Absolute genius meister, and of course we're controlling 5 of the 10 top spots at the moment. Just shows you how good Archie is, and we like to think our slogan is making fear real, and we've already taken out a number of players before the game's even started, so it's going pretty well for us. You work with us, we work with you. You work against us, we work against you. It's pretty much it. And obviously you guys know I'm running at least 3 YouTube channels, and generally covering Pulse Chain, Titan X, X1, those sort of things. That's what I do. And a big shout out to Triple Dad for your projects coming online, because they're really big value adds for the whole community. So big shout out.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Archie and KoolAid, who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Arch.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Archipelago, the Don of the Directorate. Been in crypto, oh my gosh, going on about 10 years now. And
Did we lose you?
I think we lost you there, Archie. Did you mute yourself?
Somebody took him out.
That's right.
Yeah, someone's trying to attack our Don. The Don.
hey,
Don.
yeah, sorry guys, I got somebody at the door here. Yeah, I'm the Don of the Directorate. Yeah, so Don of the Directorate, I have some fantastic members in our family, obviously. So a huge shout out to all the Directorate members. And yeah, glad to be here.
Shouldn't you change your name to the Dawn of the Doors if you're going to be Dawn of the Directorate?
KoolAid, introduce yourself to the boys.
Oh, what's going on? I'm Crypto KoolAid. I've been a game dev for 18 years, bestly known for my work in 2017, Arcane's release of Prey. I've been in crypto since 2017. I'm one of the co-founders on the Gift Tech side of all different protocols we experimented with on Pulse Chain. And right now, Gift is not here because he's deep down working on our Pulsar stuff, which is going to bring build on Tight Next to Pulse Chain, and pretty exciting stuff across the board. So yeah, I'm the game dev that can speak publicly about stuff that Jacob can't say because I just would use what I would do as a normal day job. So yeah, it's great to be here with everyone.
Yeah, really. Thanks very much for joining us. Yes, I mean, I have to second that. Really, KoolAid all along has been. I mean, we've streamed a bunch of times. I'm sure a lot of you guys know. KoolAid's always my go-to guy when I need to know, because me personally, I don't have that much of a gaming experience background. I mean, gaming was never really my thing. I played a few games here and there over the years, but like nothing major, you know. Yeah, speaking to KoolAid, he's opened my eyes to the possibilities of what Mafia can do. And I have to say, like, I'm very pro Jacob protocols as they go anyway, because I mean, you can just pick any one of them, and the people that know about these sort of things, you know, the people that really look into contracts and that. I mean, it's everything he does is like a world's first. You know, he is out of the box thinking. He comes on with protocols that really, given the right audiences like we're trying to build now at Mafia, the sky is the absolute limit with a lot of these things. It's already been discussed that Mafia is going to be really multi-chain now, not just Pulse Chain and BNB. We're already going on to Base is going to be soon. Mike, I'd like to talk to you about a bit of Base later on, because you already have a bit of experience over there. So we'd like to get your input. I'm sure the guys would love that too. And yeah, and we'll just see how we can get this train rolling, you know, because really, I think where we are, we're at that pivotal moment now where the majority of the setup and the thinking behind the game, the strategy behind the game has kind of already been done. Now, you know, we're getting to the juicy bits, if you like. So, you know, the map is going to be coming out soon. I'm sure Jacob's going to be able to talk about that in a bit more detail and give us some timelines and stuff. But yeah, so I think once the map is out, and you know, I'm talking to new families all the time, or new potential families all the time, new people that are coming across on all of the chains now that we're going to be on. So really, I think once the map comes out, we start to build up a good bit of momentum, and with that momentum, then we can start to really get this thing crack-a-lacking, you know.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. I'm just looking here. We actually have the main man himself in the house. How you doing, Jacob?
What's going on, Jacob?
Hello, guys. Thank you for being here. Very proud of such a great turnout. Didn't expect that. Good to see you all.
Nice to see you, Jacob.
Welcome,
Hello.
Jacob.
Hey, Jacob.
Hello all. So,
Busy man these days, Jacob.
Very true. I just want to preface this with I would like to answer as many questions as I can, but a lot of questions will probably cross a line where we keep it due to strategy and our launch plan. I have to keep it kind of off limits. And also some type of questions might be in the realm where it's because we actually haven't decided a specific balance value, so I can't give you a definitive answer. But from what we know, we would like to give you an opportunity to get a deeper dive into how this game is going to look when we are live. And you know, any question you can put forward, but I would, you know, consider it and see if I'm able to answer or not based on basically those prefaced scenarios. Okay, is that all right?
That's actually a very good. Yeah, it's very good practice. Again, we are in early access of the game, and that means things can be polished and annotated as he's going through that process. So it's a very healthy mentality to have.
Thank you very much, KoolAid. Okay, so I guess that we could just jump straight in. I don't know if Colt, you have any ways you want to handle this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've actually been sent over the last few days since I announced the stream. I've been sent a number of questions. Some of them on Telegram. Some of them people have been reaching out to me over on X. So I think I'll start to roll with the ones that I have currently, if you don't mind. And then, I mean, any of the boys that have any questions or any questions that pop up as we jump on stream, we can just continue that way. Does that sound fair?
Yes, sounds great. Just quickly before we start, I just want to give a shout out to Crypto Cuban and Richie as well for coming on board and bringing a very positive energy. And I think seems to me like very clever people. I have seen some of your streams, and I'm very proud that we can attract that kind of intellect into our ecosystem here, because that proves to me that we have a strong product. So thank you very much for taking the time, and I am looking forward to this.
Excellent,
Yeah.
man. Very glad to be here, bro.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words. Definitely, remember when Cult sent me the information for Mafia, and he's quite persistent, which is good, right? But then, I started reading up on it and went to the docs. I was like, holy shit, like this is thick, right? And it's the game theory is fantastic. So it is a platform which I'm 100% confident is going to be an absolute banger of a project and a game, and it's just going to grow and grow and grow as we get further into this cycle. So for me it's a no-brainer to get involved with Mafia.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you,
the community is one of the most active that I'm in at the moment. So it's all green flags. It's great.
That's excellent. That sounds excellent. Okay, I really have a first question. Really, when land tiles?
Yeah, so I would consider us around 80% finished with the map update. The thing is that this update is kind of one of those updates that just keeps growing because you see new potentials, and you also at the same time know that this update will set the standard for the visual presence of Mafia, what will be shared on social media. And because of that, we really wanted to take just a couple of digs deeper than what we initially planned, and that obviously results in slightly longer timelines. I was speaking with the entire team today earlier in a meeting, and I think we agreed, all of us, contract engineer, the backend engineer, and front-end developers, we all agreed that this was the most comprehensive crypto update we have ever done, and that's like 4 years of full-time development, multiple people. So it's significant, but for good reason. And honestly, we can't really wait to see you guys' reaction to what we have done. It's kind of incredible. So right now we are just really adjusting the game mechanics of it. One thing is making something beautiful. The other thing is making it make sense over a 10-year period. So that's where we are down in the nitty-gritty details of actually making everything bind together in a way that creates a game with a strategy, and a balance. So it takes time, but quality does take time. So
that's right. You want quality over quickly, especially with game dev. You want that evergreen ecosystem, especially with something that's a live service.
Agree.
Yeah. So do we know then, with the land tiles, do we know how land tiles are going to affect an individual player's worth and their family's worth at this stage?
Yes, we do. A land tile, and based on its development stage, will have a worth associated with it, just like any other item does in the game. So the more tiles you own, the more assets you own, and the more worth your profile has, right? Kind of the same as a land tile will be just like an item in your inventory. And you can transfer it, you can list it on the market, it's treated as a complete normal inventory item, except this item can be upgraded. So imagine you open in the RNG, you open a level 1 house. Now, based on time and in-game cash, you can upgrade it to a level 2, and then so on and up to the ultimate level. And as you do that, you are pouring more capital and time into that asset, and it also increases in value and demand on the market if you were to list it. So that's the way that we are going to handle land tiles. They will be just as a regular in-game item, but you can only open one of these land tiles in a specific land crate, a separate page from the item crate opening scenario we have right now.
Yeah, and just to clarify that for the other people, I assume that you're using the page to gate which key gets used for which tech tree side. So it's going to be the same key across the board. However, what page you're in, the crate page or the land page, would dictate from what pool the key goes into, correct?
Yes, the keys are a universal tool that you can spend in many areas. For instance, for the Player Plus, or you can, you can spend it on currently both opening a crate, but also in opening the land tiles. And over time, there will be many ways of using the game keys, for instance, for Nodi credits or for the helper bots. But ultimately, we are going to make the vault chart show how many keys are actually spent on or where in which area, right? So right now we are just tracking the total purchased amount of keys on the, I think it's the red line, it's called keys. We're going to split that into two now, called item crates and land crates, which means that we are able to see, instead of tracking on purchase, we are going to track that on spend. So we're now going to make a basically a line for each area where you can spend the key, and that will then show a more precise illustration of what kind of features brings in capital to the vault and essentially drives the game.
That's interesting.
And Jacob, when each land tile is acquired, in order to place a business on that land tile, does that those each require an individual mafia stake? Is that correct?
No. So
Okay.
all businesses are pre-placed by us as a team, and all businesses will be placed in a corner of a road, meaning that you can maximum have 3 connectors.
Okay.
If you are currently the owner of a business, you will just have that business when the map goes live, basically. Then, when the game goes live, if you get killed, someone can steal that business from you, right? So that is relevant with any game tile that you can own on the map. So there were kind of a lot of questions in kind of one question there, Cuban. If you could, if that answers anything.
So it kind of does, yeah. And then it also opens up another question, which is how valuable will Mafia be when it comes to those land tiles and those businesses? As far as regular maintenance, those require like cash to run the actual business?
So it's a good question. So basically, one of the ways we are going to create a good tokenomic for the Mafia token itself is by obviously trying to integrate it into the activity of the core protocol itself, the core game. And one of these methods is that these land tiles, they have basically a on and off switch, and they have a staking Mafia token requirement to basically switch that into on. And only when the land tile or the building or the asset you have is switched into on, which you do by depositing enough Mafia tokens like a stake, only in that point you are benefiting from that asset. So basically, you can own a hotel, but if you don't stake and switch the flip on, you're just benefiting 0 from it. You get no inflation from owning the hotel. You get no defense power from owning that asset. It's just like an invisible asset in your inventory. That means that you can basically exit your stake. You can move around your Mafia if you don't have enough, and only have activated the specific asset that you want at the time.
Got it. So a Mafia stake is very, very important, and then make sure that switch is on for the business.
Well, especially if you want to earn the inflation, if you want to have it, as an asset that is working for you, then you need to commit X amount of Mafia token. You can exit them within 24 hours, so they are quite liquid, but you still need to commit them.
And how is that going to be in relation to the staking that's already done within the family bank? Because those won't be released till lock. Launch, right?
That's a very good question. They're basically separate. So staking for a land tile to open it is separate from making a stake for the family bank. But what combines it is that based on how many land tiles you own is going to increase the rate of which you weekly can extract your Mafia tokens back from that initial stake you made to the family bank.
And then one other thing I was trying to answer for you while we were waiting for the circle to come around. Businesses, because they are not upgradable, do not require stake Mafia to be active. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yep, and then also all businesses are automatically pre-socketed in game, whether you wanted them to be or not. If you are holding it, it is automatically live at launch of game. Your assets will be automatically placed into the region of city and the type of tech business that it is.
Yes, there will be no scenario where someone is placing a tile on the map. Everything will be pre-placed, and opening a land crate just has X amount of possibilities to reward you a certain tile. I think out of 1,500 tiles in each city, on average we have 650 available from start, and everything else, the 900, is occupied by nature, water, roads, businesses, all sorts of interesting stuff that you as a user cannot just simply acquire, that is basically unacquirable, right? So what I think is that if we have a scenario with 11 cities and we actually only have 650 user tiles per city, I'm just going to say this right now. If we are getting even remotely close to doing an Axie Infinity kind of size game, that is going to be an extremely rare tile, right? 650 times 11, that's nothing. And that means that every user that comes in simply cannot own anything, right? And more importantly, it means that it will put a upper limit on the size of what a family would ever be able to hold if they want to be in a good vault state, basically not in vault suspension. So what I could see happening, imagining those kind of numbers of players, is that it would be very rare to even be in a family. Right now, everyone is in a family, right? But in a Axie Infinity kind of adoption scenario, less than 1% of all players will even be in a family. So you would end up having made men and then just random gangsters all over the place. That's because of the way we have structured the HQ size. And the way that I'm looking at it right now, I can't see a family growing above 300 without going into vault suspension. That will be very difficult. And you only have 8 families maximum per city, right? So it's quite easy numbers you can do. And you know, if you look at how many players that could potentially come in with proper marketing and adoption, it will be interesting to see if that balance switches from everyone in a family to now being a very rare thing to even be in a family, right? Very interesting.
Sure. And another simulation, I don't want to dig deep into the weeds, but let's just say you are a lone wolf. Detectives inherently of themselves can only scour within their own city. And so if you are not affiliated to a city, being a lone wolf, being in any city that you decide to place your character, it would be hard or expensive to use detectives to track down characters, or will detectives be able to work cross region, cross continent?
No, you need to hire detectives in each city where you want to. So detectives only work within the city they are hired, but you can from one spot hire detectives in all cities if you just put up the money.
Sure, but if someone that was for example, for the Gearheads, our primary HQ is in Vegas. So if you wanted to find someone in the Gearheads, you would use a detective agency in Vegas. But if you were a lone wolf player, you could theoretically be anywhere in the world, and it would be very expensive to try to track you down because the player can immediately move from Caracas to Nipoli, and then you would be spending your detectives looking for someone that could move.
Yes, and that's why when they find them, you need to act quick, unless it's a player that is sleeping. If it's an active player who is traveling for selling and buying narcotics and alcohol, then what will happen is that your detectives will have a positive location hit, and before you travel there yourself, they might be gone, right? And then you need to find that wallet all over again, that player all over again.
Okay, we have a question from the chat here from Max Payne. Max has asked, Jacob, please explain the logic of pre-selecting 8 HQ locations per city.
Yeah, this is a good one. So we have 8 locations per city, and what we're going to do is that we are going to pre-place all of those tiles. Basically, that's just a graphic tile that looks like a mafia headquarter, right? And that tile will be predefined with a current family, if there is one in that city, and we will basically pre-fill everyone's position and everyone's tiles. We will do this with a random draw because each city has 8 locations, and we don't just want to say Syndicate goes here and OGs goes there. We're just going to do that as an internal draw. What we have done, though, is that all positions are supposed to be somewhat equal in opportunity and weakness. So each position a HQ is placed in has weakness and strengths, right? So it doesn't really matter that much what kind of starting point you're getting. Only cosmetics, I would say. We have tried to balance it out so that we cannot give anyone a disadvantage from the start, as that would obviously not be good for the game.
You mentioned that certain areas or land tiles or regions would have strengths and weaknesses. Do those vary from each city, or are those like the same strengths and weaknesses all around?
No, all 11 cities have a different layout in how the family headquarters are integrated into the map. So there will be different strategies and different weaknesses and different strengths in each city. So there might be a scenario where you would think, oh, damn, I would have loved to have a powerful city, a powerful family on this specific location in a specific city, right? Because of some sort of optimal kind of scenario for your family and what kind of business you want to run with your family, right? That will probably happen. But generally, within the cities, we are trying to balance all of the HQ spots as much as we can from the starting point.
Cool.
Yes.
That is kind of cool.
And we have added a new rarity class called a strategic land tile. So we have 4 slots. We have 4 classifications for a slot now. We have the common one, then we have the high-end one, and then we have the elite one, and now we have the most rare one is called a strategic slot. On average, there's about 25 to 30 of these slots, which means that they are by far the most rare ones on the entire map. These slots does not give you any extra worth or any extra defense values. They are purely strategic slots simply because they are weaknesses in which other families can attack those slots and very easily put your family into vault suspension. So that's why they're called strategic land tiles. And you would probably want to put some of your strongest characters on those strategic slots, because otherwise that's like having there's a saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link, right? And you don't want to be a family in which an enemy can easily vault suspend you. So we have introduced that as a new game, not a new game mechanic, but as a more highlighted game mechanic, because it was already intended from the start.
Jacob, how would we protect those? Is there a way to build fortifications, or is it just developing buildings and then fortifying that building?
A land tile is just an item that your profile owns. So you have to remember that the profile is everything. You just earn extra value, strength value, by owning this asset. So everything comes down to your profile and the profile's rank and the profile's worth value and the profile's strength. And with all of these scenarios, that plays into how strong is your player, right? If someone attacks someone who is holding a very important strategic tile for the syndicate, that player, if that strategic holder dies, then it would put the syndicate into vault suspension until you reacquire that tile. And in the meanwhile, all of the other families are sharing what you are normally getting. So this is a strategy a game mechanic that we introduced so that it can be economically viable for someone to make a strategic hit at certain timings, because it will literally benefit them in US dollars. So it will become interesting to see how not only the reaction would be to doing that, is that equals a family war? How will the retaliation be for something like that, right? And how severe it is. And there's all sorts of mechanics that we are trying to figure out around that, as it will become one of the main game aspects. I would say it would, it's like cutting off your economic income to the entire family by just attacking one simple tile. You can literally do that, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Can you comment on? You mentioned the strategic tiles. There's about 3% of those. Can you comment on the distribution of the other tiles?
Yeah, so basically the way that we have it right now is that there's roughly, I can just actually have the numbers in front of me, 2 seconds. If I'm opening up, let's just say Las Vegas right now, I'm looking at a common user class would be 412 tiles. A high-end or upper class user would be 108. A elite user tile would be 58. And then I have on the strategic user 39 actually. So a little bit more than I remember, but 39 on the strategic user. So it will be the most rare tile to get. But the interesting thing with the strategic user tile is that if you are an unrelated user that opens a syndicate strategic tile, you basically have 2 options, right? Either A, you trade it with them, you offer them as a gift, you sell it on the market, whatever, or you decide to keep it, right? But now you're in a scenario where the syndicate needs this tile, otherwise they'll never get a payout from the vault. So obviously you are their number 1 enemy from the start. They literally have to get this tile to ever get a vault payout. So this user, understanding that, would obviously make a logical decision to either sell it or just accept to lose it, or get or the player will be eliminated, right? So there are some interesting scenarios where someone could speculate on the value of strategic tiles where a family has not been created yet. Because if there was adoption and all of the family spots that needs to be created and taken, they will need those spots, right? But right now, there's no risk in holding them because nobody is fighting over them, right? Right now, we only have 20 families, but there's 88 availability. So you could actually acquire those very rare strategic tiles and speculate that a family in the future will come and they would be interested in purchasing them from you, right? So there's all sorts of interesting plays, but you guys will realize all of these things when the map update actually goes live, right? Because there's so many nuances and ways that you could look at this and how you could play it. And a guy like Escargot or JHex, he will obviously figure out a way to just push maximum RNG and maximum volume, and then just not care about anything else on that.
No question for you there. Those land tiles, how will they be visible to people that are under Player Plus? Also, when the game goes live out of EA, you can see from the family profile who owns what business. Is that going to be obfuscated at any point in the future?
It's a very good question, KoolAid, and this question is actually also relevant for killing someone, because if you kill someone and you automatically take their tiles, then now it's quite obvious who killed that player, right? So there's no anonymity in killing someone and getting their tiles. And to answer your question is that we would like to make the entire city and the ownership of the city public. So you would not be able to hide the fact that you own this tile. All of that will be visible in the UI.
Interesting.
Jacob, when you do kill somebody, and if they have items listed on the marketplace, what happens to those items? Do those items then become yours? Because I'm thinking of a scenario where, let's say that you get a strategic land tile and you just want to keep that perpetually out of bounds for an opposing family. Could you list that on the market for some cost prohibitive price, like $20,000, just to keep it out of bounds for forever? Or is there some mechanism that would prevent that from happening?
Yeah, obviously this is actually something that we haven't really found the perfect solution to yet, but we obviously want to figure out a fallback function where the item can be retrieved back to either protocol control or back to killer control, right? So whoever killed that person who had the market listing for sale then assumes ownership of that market item, right? I think, and when a wallet is killed, it should also automatically cancel all market listings, I think, and then the item should go to the killer wallet, right? Something like that. But it is a scenario that we have to take into account, but we just haven't had the really time to think about that yet.
Sure, makes sense.
And Jacob, you've mentioned that your player sleeps. So will there be night and day in the game? And how will the game differ between night and day if there is?
There will not be, your player does not sleep, you sleep. So that's what I mean when I say that if you are attacking someone and the controller, the human behind it, is sleeping, then obviously you have a benefit, because then that player cannot recharge their health. That player cannot escape to another city while they are recharging or re-strategizing or trying to figure out what the response is. They are just basically AFK, right? They are sleeping. So there are definitely benefits in a significant scenario that you study your opponent's activity, basically. But that's why we introduced the naughty credits, because we know that it sucks to invest 2 years into a ranking profile and then get killed while you're sleeping. So at least we offer players a way to get a message on their phone that they can configure to prioritize, so that at least it gives you a heads up so you can act accordingly, right? Yeah.
And will there be some sort of indicator letting you know whether that player is active in the moment or not? Or will it just be like obvious if you see their player like running around and stuff?
Well, if someone just attacked you, there's a timestamp to it. And if you are even looking at that timestamp, that's because you survived. Because if you died, you don't have access to anything. You just log into a red screen and that's it, right? So you have to log out again. So you can't access anything when you're dead. So it's already positive that you survived, right? But now you have the information. You can see what account attacked you, and you can look at your health and say, and maybe you lost a bodyguard, or maybe you lost a car, or maybe you lost a asset. Now you can see, holy damn, this was a serious attack. Maybe you even killed that person in backfire, you know?
Wasn't there a 30-minute cooldown on attacking and also defending or reloading or something? That, I mean, I think that was earlier on, but I mean, obviously things to change in early access.
There's not a cooldown on defending. There's a cooldown on killing, yes.
And so you could do like different characters could run in waves then to prevent that hierarchy bump, because each time the character would have to recharge, defend, or escape to a different tile to reload, essentially. And then, you know, you could have waves of people attacking, but once you attack once, you have a 30-minute cooldown.
I think it's 2 hours we're gonna go with. So you have to wait 2 hours, and in that period, you can only get attacked and not shoot. Only your backfire will be able to shoot back, but you cannot make a direct attack. So that's the timing where you either go to safe house or you travel to other cities, so that their detectives would have to start all over, and you can draw out time, right, until you are basically back and you have recharged your health. You have, you know, maybe acquired new bullets from the market or whatever you need, right?
Sure, and all that kind of dovetails back into action, movement, and turn in cycles. Like, what does 2 hours mean to a particular, diagram of action, turn, and movement within those types of regions? Have you fleshed all that out yet? And then if not, no worries, because that's very critical information that, you know, who knows if you've done your machinations on it or anything like that to get it forward yet.
In general, the turn, as you call it, will be you and the protocol and the cooldowns. But since everyone that you are interacting with and all of your opponents, they are on the same kind of, you know, their own cooldown schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to kill someone in 5 minutes, but they might be able to do it in 1 hour and 40 minutes. You might be able to travel in 12 minutes, but they are only able to travel in 37 minutes, right? So everyone is basically playing. The interesting part is that everyone is playing against the protocol in an isolated track against the protocol. And if everyone was just the best friends forever, nobody would do anything, and they would literally just only inflate the currency from the protocol by doing the in-game action. But because that's a fantasy scenario that will never happen, because humans are greedy and I want more than you, because of that mechanic, people will start jumping away from just inflating the protocol, and they would look at each other instead and want to take some of that capital from each other, right? That's where the entire game mechanic happens. And and actually that also spells into an interesting thought that I had, where if you want to win in this game, what you actually have to do is you have to earn more in-game cash than the average player does, because that's how your capital gets more valuable. Imagine I want to create the same scenarios in real life where in-game cash is inflating, but if you put it into hard assets, then you can protect the value, right? And that's what land tiles are partially also for, that you put the cash into the tiles, but because of the game mechanics, there's no inflating of the tiles. And if you onboard 100,000 users, there's still only the same amount of tiles, but those 100,000 users are still minting in-game cash based on their actions, right? They're still doing crimes, they're still stealing cars, they're still doing all of these free things that are based on time, but does inflate the cash currency, right? But they cannot get the tiles. So that's where we have this basically the mimic of how real life also works with these kind of things. Yeah, sorry, just a side thought.
Oh no, it's actually a well thing to do, because no matter where a game mimics real reality at its purest of a form and function. So no, I definitely understand that.
Yeah, that's really interesting on the cooldown piece, Jacob. And I'm glad you brought that up too late. So with respect to the cooldowns, is that a global cooldown? Does everybody have their own global cooldown where you can't perform any action until that? Let's say that if you're traveling, for instance, or doing whatever, smuggling, if that requires a cooldown after completing that action, or the cooldowns related to specific functions within the game, for like attacking, for instance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. That's a good question. And actually the answer is both, because you have a global cooldown for your account and that's called jail. So if you make a failed crime, you go to jail for a certain amount of time, and that's a global cooldown, meaning you can't do any function in the protocol. You cannot even change the page. You're just stuck there, and you feel like you're in jail, right? But let's say you do a crime and it's successful. That's an individual cooldown. You can still travel, you can still kill, you can still do anything. You just cannot do that crime again until the 4 minutes has counted down, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, okay. So a good way to look at it is there's a global clock that each character has based on their turns and actions, and then there are parameters that are a global requirement per which tech tree or action or parameter that they're engaging with.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is it's related to the specific action, not a class of actions, for instance, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like, it's either all of them or individually.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool, Jacob. I can see in the chat a few people are asking about. Excuse me. A few people are asking about deposits and withdrawals. Could you jump into that for a little bit, because I know you put a post in the Telegram the other day, but I'm sure we have a bunch of people in here right now that haven't had a chance to see that yet.
Yeah. Okay. So. We thought quite a bit about this, deposits and withdrawals. This is quite an important part of the economic balance in the protocol. To me, it's important that when someone, an active player, spends their time and effort and energy into something, what they get out of it should be something that they feel is valuable. It should be something that they can respect, so that it makes sense for them to put in the work and the time. And that requires that the in-game protocols currency you are earning from doing these tasks, it needs to have a realistic exit with a realistic USD value, because that's how you can, basically defend for yourself that you are doing this to earn money, right? Now, how can we do that, right? There would be multiple ways of doing that, but what we ultimately realized was that how do you price an in-game currency that is constantly inflating in every single way, but also deflating? It's very hard to put a USD value on that. And because of that, we simply had to put that responsibility upon the owners of it themselves. So based on how game development goes on, how different things play out, that will either increase or decrease, or maybe activities such as wars, maybe that will increase or decrease the price of currency. But ultimately, it can only be the players and owners of the currency themselves that can set the price. So for that, we have to come up with a way where new onboards can actually decide to say, I want to put in USD value into the game and I want to get a head start, right? There's no game nowadays where the kids don't spend money. You can play FIFA, you can play Counter-Strike, you can play Dota, you can play any game you want. All games give you an ability to use money so that something is easier for you, or you have an instant gratification or an instant access to something that maybe your neighbor doesn't, right? That's almost the standard for any game these days. And the same will be here, right? Because in that scenario, what happens is that someone comes in and say, hey, I want to play Mafia, but I don't want to do the hard work of clicking that crime every 2 minutes and earning 1,200 in-game currency every 2 minutes. I want 20 million right now so I can go do all of the fun stuff. I can go to the roulette, see if I can break the bank. I can make a hit on someone. So how can they achieve that instead of doing it the hard way? Well, surprise, surprise, they spend Mafia token, right? So they take the token and they exchange that Mafia token. The new onboard will do that to the current currency holders, those who actually made all of the hard work, those who actually put in the time and effort to generate it. They are now the people who are selling it to the onboards. So the protocol refuses to mint it, and the protocol refuses to price it. This creates an OTC scenario where you just have an aggregator on that the onboard is buying from the cheapest offer from the players, right? And because of that mechanic, we can comfortably say that anyone can earn money from just playing the game. You spend 2,000 Mafia as the onboard requirement, and from that point on, you can actually earn money here without doing anything else. You just go in, do the crime, do the travel, do whatever it is in the game, and you will earn currency, right? So we have that gaming narrative for also the Philippines, for the entire Asia and all of that, where you don't need to spend $500 on an Axie Infinity NFT to even have a chance at playing. No, it's significantly different. You can go in very low barrier to entry, and you can start earning that in-game currency, which equates to real money immediately, right? I think that's powerful.
Oh yeah,
I think that's absolutely amazing. Actually,
Yeah,
this is
that's
something
great.
this is something that I touch on actually when I speak to new people about this all the time. Literally, it just costs you 2,000 Mafia to get in, and you can start earning money by doing these things. I think it's absolutely amazing, Jacob. Really.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly going the right direction. I think we can all say that. So concerning the in-game currency, then, when the game is launched, is in-game currency still going to be available, like in crates and things like that?
No, we are probably removing that soon. I thought about that yesterday, actually. There will be different updates to crate scenario. I have to make a quite of an important economic decision on how we balance that, especially also after game goes live. Should that be a potential onboarding method to go through crates? Does that make sense? Or should we simply force everyone through the Mafia token / in-game currency trade? That's a very hard decision to make, and a very important decision to make, because no matter how you twist and turn it, the gambling element of the direct key sale for item crates and land crates will be a massive benefactor for the vault. And I'm not so sure that we can have that rate of capital income if we push everything through the in-game currency swap, basically. But it's something that we have to be very careful about how we design. But it's certainly something that we have on our radar.
So something to be considerate of that I was just thinking of. So essentially when you kill someone, because all the items on the character besides business or land gets removed from the game, and hence creating the deflationary aspect of the currency itself, could the currency, if players wanted to sell that for additional cash, can only go through Mafia, right? With no tax, but cash can be auctioned for real tokens outside the game to pay the 16% tax to then refill the vault, which would have a compounding loop or a reinforcement loop on top of the deflationary mechanism of getting rid of the cash as well as funding the vault.
Yes, we are going to build this in a very specific way where you cannot exit without paying your fair share to the vault. That's kind of how we designed it from the very core of the product. So if you decide to put up your in-game currency for sale for the new onboards, when you get that Mafia token, if you really want to exit entirely and get US dollars, you have to take a sell, and that will give you a 17.7% sell tax, right? So no matter what, you end up paying that fee to the vault going in or going out. Everything that comes in and out pays a fee to the vault, right? And that is obviously quite important, as we can see on the vault chart as well, that the Taxman has also been a huge contributor to the overall vault income in the capital value, right?
Right. But what I was also stipulating is that could be paying the Taxman is a different way to make the token, the in-game cash token, deflate rather inflating if everyone is hoarding their cash. So by actually going through that loop to refund the vault with the taxes, you're actually making a deflationary movement for the in-game ecology of the game.
Well, in that case, we have to hand that token to whoever is selling the in-game currency, right? That's the entire point. So we cannot just take it in and burn it, if that's what you're asking.
Right.
Jacob, this is kind of a noob question. What if I was a crazy guy named KoolAid, right? And I like to go into the Nevada desert for 2 weeks a year and listen to Diplo. Is when people go to sleep and they're vulnerable, is KoolAid vulnerable for that entire 2 weeks he's in the desert?
I would be vulnerable, yes, but I would also make sure that I was protected during that time.
Yeah. So he would bring his Starlink router.
I would definitely have that too. Now, here's an interesting fact if we want to tiptoe around that. Let's just say I am in a land tile, and let's say 3 of my Mafia family people are there, and one person comes and attacks that person. Is there a hierarchy on defense that the other 3 people would not get in front of because I'm a higher rank to help defend me? So is there a grouping of people when someone attacks a particular tile or a reference of tile? And I don't think we've really discussed this with you, but like things like hand grenades or Molotov cocktails, those are PBAE or AOE attack mechanisms. So those would hit everyone within a region versus not. How are we going to be looking at that, or is that still TBD?
Something like that is generally not on the plate at all. It is literally individual attacks on individual wallets at all time. And some of these things are not because they would be nice or they would be good ideas. It's just because when you're working inside of Solidity first and foremost, and on chains that are missing different kind of infrastructure, you're really limited to what you can do, and the complexity in some ways can also be too much. Also for the users, both for the developers and the users, right? So I think right now we are at a position where we are not looking at something like that, but that doesn't mean that we can't be in the future, and that doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. But right now, we are not really trying to add that kind of complexity now.
No, of course. And if you were going to slate that into a tech tier or DLC, it could be something that you could use for the Noti credits or something of that nature that's pre-scripted. But obviously, with Solidity as the parameter that you have to deal with on the base layer or Solana or whatever you had to change with each different chain. No, that makes sense.
And Jacob, just to kind of go more over on KoolAid's question there. So other family members within your family aren't able to defend you or attack with you? It's strictly like a 1v1 in every situation?
Well, if someone is attacked and you send a Telegram message to your entire family, staff, and members, say, "Hey, this guy is attacking me. Help me out," right? So obviously there is a you can pass that information on, or you can log into your alternative account, which probably 98% of you guys have, and then you can use that information to fight back together, right? In family wars, what will happen is that 5 accounts will attack the same account at the same time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Hey.
when one person attacks another, that person's defenses lie strictly within what they have in their inventory.
No, the worth part that is calculating how strong you are, the inventory has a say in that, obviously. So basically, when the kill contract is taking your account, attacker and defender's account, it's measuring basically, almost like a boxing match, right? Reach, weight, age, and all of those. It's measuring all of these parameters. It's adding in some RNG as well, and then it is coming to a conclusion on what should happen. But where we have a interesting scenario is something called backfire. Basically, you can configure your account to respond in a specific way based on someone who is attacking you. So if you're sleeping and you put your backfire to, I want to send all of my bullets or the maximum amount of allowed bullets to anyone who attacked me, right? Then if someone shoots you, they're probably dead. If you die, they're probably dead as well, right? But what happens if they decide to make use on a worthless alt that just sends one bullet? Now they just depleted your entire bullet stack because they just shot one test bullet into your account, and you depleted that on a worthless character, right? So in your backfire settings, you have 4 opportunities. You can either set it to a fixed amount of bullets you want to shoot back every time someone attacks you automatically, or you can set it to a random amount, or you can set it to the double amount of whatever they are shooting at you, right? And this choice you make in this backfire is an immense strategy, because it kind of is a resource situation for you. If you just put it at max every time, you make sure you have a lot of bullets, because otherwise they will just deplete your bullets with very bad intentional attacks, basically the other families, right? So there will be a lot of intricacies around how you set up your backfire setting, and when someone is also attacking you, and kind of trying to figure out how are we going to go about actually killing this user, right, without dying ourselves. Because what you don't want is just to go full head steaming into a profile that is stronger than you expected, and that profile to have a maximum amount of return bullets and backfire, because then your profile is going to die.
So one more question on that. So I'm going to use the game of Pokemon just as like an example, but in a game of Pokemon, the original one, you'd be like walking through the bushes or something would attack you, and then you have options of what you want to do. You can attack, and then you have several attacks, or you can run away or escape. Is run away and escape going to be an option when someone attacks you, or do you have to sit there and have to defend yourself in some sort of physical way?
Yeah, you have to be there. You can, run away and escape is basically you logging in and traveling somewhere and recharging, so that their detectives are now cancelled and they would need to find you all over again so that they can continue their attack. But because everyone is basically playing on their own timeline, you cannot have a scenario where 2 people are standing across each other and I click one button, you click a button, I click a button. That can't really happen, because thousands of users are playing on their own timeline and they want to do things when it matters to them. So you could be off to work, doing your everyday work, and someone in the meanwhile is just wiping you out. And if you are not having on your phone or checking or doing anything, you probably wouldn't know until you get back to your PC, right, when you're off work. And that is kind of the brutality of this game, is that you need to be present and you need to be there, and the node credits will show themselves to be more important than people realize, because when you pour a certain amount of time into something, you also put value on it, right? also apart from the capital. We could remove all capital crypto value from this game, and just because you spend time ranking that character up, you would put value on that character, right? You don't want that to disappear or go away if you have a high ranked character in a community of people. That's just digital, like the same way we have seen with World of Warcraft and all of these like digital leaderboards, right? And that would be the same here, but now we have all of the money inside as well, so it just adds an entirely different level of game mechanic, in some ways also seriousness, right? We have already seen that in the chats, by the way, that there has been some back and forth with some less nice words, I would put it. There has been some shenanigans going on, and it seems like some people are treating it as a act, and some are taking it a bit too seriously, and then everything between, right? It's all of that is going quite it's funny to observe, I would say. We have decided on purpose to have a very loose moderation style in that Telegram specifically, just because of the theme. Like normally we wouldn't allow direct death threats, right? That makes sense. But here it's just kind of what we have to allow in some ways, right?
But here we encourage death threats.
Yes.
So just
yeah,
just to a table on that last note that Cuban was saying, both the attack and the backfire happen within the same block on the chain. So once you immediately attack, the backfire that you specify would happen within the same parameter, because it's initiated when it starts and it has to go to completion before the next block can be responded.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Jacob, on the backfire and the notification credits, you mentioned kind of like the implications of a feint attack, right? So you could send people just to trigger those notification credits and to trigger that backfire. Is there any mechanism that will be in place to dampen that down? Because theoretically, I mean, apart from just the level of requirement to attack somebody, theoretically, you could, as long as you had a stream of alts within a certain range, you could just continually send them at a target to trigger those. Is that a fair statement, or is there any mechanism that would prevent that other than the level of requirement?
Well, you could set your backfire to random. So that means every time they go and use an alt they risk losing it every time, and they will only have X amount that is within, I think, 3 levels they can shoot up from your account. So imagine that you're a Dawn, the highest ranked. That's a significant account they are sacrificing just to test your backfire setting. Like, they spend months on building that account that can even begin to shoot at you, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, on the this might be kind of breaching into the secret sauce territory, and I don't want to get it too much into this, but right now, player ranking and family ranking is largely a function of liquid and staked mafia and inventory, and I think there are other things like player age and other things to a lesser degree. Going forward, as additional mechanics are introduced into the game, skills, honor, other things like that, in my mind, inventory becomes less important, even though we have the injection of land tiles into that pool as well. Can you comment on whether or not that line of thinking is correct? And if it is, what would be the additional factors that would be important into that ranking?
Yeah, so that is correct that I think we are at a situation where we have to figure out what is the right balance, right? Because obviously you want to have a scenario where someone can put in capital, boost the game and the economy for everyone, and then also get something out of it, right? So, but at the same time, you also want to reward a value that is not just acquirable by spending money. So for instance, something called honor points, right? Where you have 1 point and 1 wallet, and let's say you could send that point once every week. Whoever accumulated most of those couldn't, well, in theory they could have bought them, I guess, on Telegram or whatever, but the thing is that vote would be a more healthy sign of who's supposed to be maybe stronger than just the capital value of the inventory, right? I think that makes logical sense. But it is still a balance where we need to find out how can we give profiles strength based on something else than what is just directly purchasable, right? And the best way to do that is the ranking itself, because the only way to gain rank is by doing all of the actions, the turn-based actions on the contracts, like doing a crime, buying, smuggling, traveling, all of these things. That's how you get your rank. You cannot purchase your rank. You can spend $1 million in this game and you would still be a newbie that could be wiped out like nothing if you didn't rank your profile, right? Rank is the single most important factor in the entire game, and what also defines the value of your character. It is the time that you put in is what is really valuable, and not how much money you put in. But of course, because we are in a scenario where people have not been able to put in time, now what is directly available to us to perceive. So there will be a balance between both of them.
Hmm. Okay, so
sorry, just a moment.
go ahead,
I was going to bounce out now, but I'd be great if Jacob, you come on my YouTube channel to do some more questioning soon. That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you very much, Superman. I will certainly consider that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
And Jacob, so do each types of family members, and what I mean by that is, Don Consigliere and a regular teammate, Capo, when they commit crimes, do they all get the same amount of experience or the same amount of rank, or does that change depending on where you sit in your family hierarchy?
No, that doesn't change based on if you're a Don or the lowest rank. The ranking is same for everyone. So the thing is that when you make a crime, you can either be successful, you can fail, or you can go to jail. So basically 2 out of 3 outcomes will not give you any rank points or any in-game currency. But the third option, which is success, it gives you in-game in inflation and it gives you rank points, right? And that is just you against the protocol. And your Don will be doing the same things as you do, but your Don will probably be spending keys on purchasing helper credits, because helper credits are the only way that you can automate those ranking XP actions, which is creating a crime, making a crime, traveling, buying, and all of that. All of those time-consuming actions can be replaced with the helper credits, simply because that's the only way we can combat a cheater.
Right. And then so to step into that one more time. So while you're running with helper credits, obviously Sam and Frank's for offensive defense makes sense, and you can only have one bodyguard equipped at a time. Which one is going to help you be more successful in crimes? Is that going to be connections or economy? Because both of those really weren't dug into on how those tech trees between economy and connections split out.
Yeah, that I won't go into, KoolAid,
yeah, no worries.
But I will say though that the helper credits cannot save you in a scenario where you're being attacked. It's not like you can use that to fight for you and run away and all sorts of stuff. The helper credits is simply just there to make the basically the timed ranking actions for you. So you can enable a helper credit with maybe 5,000 credits, and that would equal 5,000 of these actions, where you don't have to do that yourself on chain, paying the gas, being there, doing it, right?
Of course. Yeah, no, my question was more or less like, while you're XPing, so to say, doing crimes, heists, and all the rest of that, which of those bodyguards may help? But if that's still, early access, working through the itemization and characterization of it, yeah, no, I completely understand, since I've got 11 days to get my own early access out. So I get you there.
Yeah. Well, I would say that I can say that if you were doing those actions yourself, it would be the exact same. So your bodyguard setup would be the same. Doesn't matter if it's your helper credit bot that is doing any of the actions for you. It's still the same setup you have for the entire account in an attack scenario. The helper credit bots will not be something in that way that can do anything significant for you, or it cannot save you. What it can do is just save you time on ranking, and all, basically just be competitive on ranking. Because if we didn't introduce this, you would just see someone, a developer, he would outrank everyone and kill everyone and take over the entire game. So I would personally be able to do that if it was me. But with this here, I basically offer that powerful opportunity to every single average Joe. So yeah,
Sure. And I think an important note that so with the helper credits, each unit of credit is one interaction or one random encounter, if you will, for each one. So 5,000 helper credits is 5,000 actions.
As example, yes.
Yep.
When
Maybe
you
yeah, come
oh,
on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that there might be some actions that would draw basically cost more credits, where you have because some of the actions are higher in profitability than others. So based on and also some actions are less likely to be successful, but give you more XP if you actually are successful, right? So there's also a risk scenario and all sorts of other stuff. But generally, I would say that any significant player would probably end up realizing that they need to have a strategy for helper credits. Otherwise, they will get outranked and simply, be outplayed, I think.
The last thought that just popped into my head: can a character be killed from the PvE side of the game? So if I was doing a heist, the worst that could happen to me would be go to jail. If the, let's call it NPCs within that random encounter or that crime,
that's a good question.
Right.
And the answer is no, with a but, which is that you can never die from the protocol itself. It will only be other users who will kill you. But you could be in a scenario where you lost 99% of your health because of a failed heist. And you could, the way that the protocol punishes you is by giving you global jail time. So if you make a failed heist, not only could you have minus 99 in health, so you only have 1 health point left, you are very, very vulnerable, but you're also jailed for 24 hours maybe, where you literally can't do anything.
So, so jail is not actually going to a jail block. You are basically set in carbonite, if you will, that you cannot, your character is frozen in place on that tile for 24 hours.
Yes. No, yes, your entire account is paused while you're jailed, but we have certain ways of getting out of jail. There's 2 ways of getting out of jail. So number 1 is that you can pay the taxman, right? In-game currency is everywhere, right? And especially in 1930s, they could pay their way out of the jail, right? So if you are in a time of need where something is going on, you probably don't care about a few million in-game cash if there's a family war going on and you just, you try to travel or whatever and you end up in jail. You're going to pay your way out because time is sensitive, right? But all of that is just deflation of the currency, like any other activity. In some ways, you could always say a very easy way to look at it is every single activity that happens between users is deflation for the protocol. So every time someone does anything between 2 users, it's positive for the protocol. So it needs to kind of incentivize people basically being upset about each other, right?
So Crypto Furio just put in the chat and he said, so you can be suicided in jail.
That is not an option.
Does a player need to eat? Can you go to a bar and get drunk and drive drunk and your actions are impaired by being drunk? Do cars need gas?
Archie and I are getting trashed.
Booze Warehouse, man.
Yeah, no to all of it. There's not this kind of maintenance kind of scenario, and no, some of those things we haven't really thought about, but as the game can grow, there's certainly all sorts of interesting ideas. But if I had to implement every single idea I have about this game, I can confidently say it would probably never launch. So you have to go. At some point, you just have to draw. I have this massive whiteboard. So I actually, if I look behind myself right now, I have 3 whiteboards on wheels, and I just have to make a circle around them, right? A circle around what you want to make. Yeah, you have it as well. That's how it is.
Well, I mean, that's why we use the term ship it in game dev. It's good enough, get through search, ship it.
If this is based on 1930s, is the map based on 1930s? Because urban sprawl, especially in places like Vegas, was non-existent then, right? There was a strip and that was it.
Well, that's a good one, but in that case, I won't be able to respect that 100%. We are building the strip though, and the elite tiles and the casino objects will be placed on the strip, obviously. But you know what we have really done with the cities is that we have found each city on Google Maps, right? And we have just kind of looked at the city and researched some things about it, like where is the water? Is there a significant river? Is there a significant symbol? Is there a mountain? Is there a forest? Anything that is recognizable for anyone who knows anything about that city, we kind of want that connection to how our layout is. So you should be able to see some recognition between the map you see in game and the reality of the city you know from Google Maps, right? That's something we want to bring over, and obviously we can't do that down to road level, but we can do it on, I would say, water and nature level. It's a little bit easier, and then some of the more significant things, such as the Strip in Vegas, right? And we have built Manhattan for New York, and the harbor in Napoli and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so one thing that I forget who was in the chat earlier asked, and it was a top of the conversation, is with each city, are they going to respect their historical traits, such as more drugs from South America, I guess more alcohol, if you want to consider wine from Italy type things? Or is it something that, when I was talking about a long time ago, that cities can be gentrified and built up, and then those mechanics or system designs would allow for more need from arbitrage? Like if Miami was a slum, it wouldn't be necessarily the place that you would get most of your cocaine imports from for you to be able to arbitrage there, whereas you would buy cheaper in Colombia.
Yep.
Or is it something that's more random to how the system is playing as a whole?
We definitely have these mechanics, so I can give you some examples. So for instance, when you're smuggling any kind of drugs or anything, the way it works is that different locations have a different range of RNG that the price can move within. So imagine I would put that range lower on general in South America, and I would put that range higher in the United States in general. So while you can find a good price in the States on, let's say, cocaine, it's probably just more rare to be able to find that purchase price than you would in South America. So that mechanic kind of forces someone to either wait a lot of time to get the good price, or simply just do the travel where you almost get a guaranteed good range for your deal, right? But that's what we want to build it in a way where we motivate people to travel out of their safe zone so that they can get caught, optimizing their income and then getting caught out of their home base, basically. Another example would be that in Las Vegas, the max bet of a single bet on the roulette we could allow on protocol level to be higher than all of the other cities, right? So you might own a roulette in Detroit, but the max bet range you as an owner can set is maybe only to 10 million in-game cash as a top you can bet on a number. But in Vegas, if you own it in Vegas, the upper limit for a single bet could maybe be 100 million. So basically,
Sure.
Las Vegas, the protocol would define the high rollers basically can only happen in Las Vegas, right? And using that model, we can give a specific benefit to each city. For instance, Detroit might be the best place to steal cars, where you on average would steal a more valuable car, right? Because
Or to crush them there as well, right? Because it's Motor
yeah,
City.
Mhm.
exactly. So looking at cities, we try to implement different reasons for why you should go and visit them, and that would optimize your economic output if you basically played it in the best way possible. But what comes with that is extra risk, because you're out of your safe zone, right? If you want to chase a good coke price down in Caracas, well, go ahead. But if someone is having detectives on you, you are out of your family headquarters, right? And for what? Just because you want to earn a little extra bucks, but that can maybe be a significant amount, so it will lure some out of the safe zones, right? And we are trying to build many good reasons why people should travel all around everywhere, right? So that would be interesting.
Well, here's a question for you. Within the same paradigm, let's just say, let's talk about me, that I have a detective agency in XYZ city, may not be my own city. Let's just randomly pull, say Bogota. I own a detective agency in Bogota. Would my detective agency track me in Bogota if someone was trying to use it to track me, or because I am the owner of said employees of detectives, would they give me preference?
No, you would basically, as the game is designed right now in the code, the detective agency doesn't care if you own it or not, because what that would mean is that you would have a safe haven in, let's say, that city if they wouldn't be able to work against you, right?
Sure.
That nobody could find. You could just stay there forever, right? So we obviously don't want that. What could be said though, from a logical standpoint, should be that at least it should be probably harder to use that against yourself, right? But right now, that's not a part of the code, no.
Of course.
Jacob, jumping back to the helper credits, you'd mentioned the importance of those for Dons and that kind of thing. And in my mind, as a Don across all the families that I'm in, I'm thinking that I'm just going to be stationary and not moving at all. That's TBD though, right? But with those helper credits, let's say that I wanted to use helper credits for smuggling, and I decide to do that. Does that actually place me at risk? Or does that do the smuggling actions happen in place, for instance? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's a good question. So using helper credits will not physically move your character to a new location. Using helper credits will literally just basically estimate based on how many credits you are spending, how much time it will take. It will literally just give you an average as if you have done it yourself. But that's without moving your character. So you just spend the credits, wait the time, and claim the profits from those credits, right? But that's the only way that you can kind of do that properly. So it will not move you out of your headquarter if you have basically a smuggling route enabled with the helper credits.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So there's literally no risk exposure by doing that other than just paying for helper credits.
Well, I think it will be quite difficult for you to just stay in Chicago forever. I will try to build a game so that will not be beneficial for you.
That's right. We need to take him out with some deep dish pizza and some Chicago hot dogs. There's one way to get him out of the corner. Here, beaker.
And Jacob, so if your bot, let's say your helper bot, is carrying out an action for you and you get attacked while you're performing that action, let's say, you yourself, you're asleep, but does the backfire reaction kick in if you're in the middle of committing a crime and you get attacked?
Yes, that is just unrelated actions, yeah. Just different functions that get sequenced in the block. So you could say that if you die, but but the thing is that the helper bot isn't actually doing anything on chain. It's just you wait an interval of time, and then when you click the claim, it literally just calculates how much it should mint for you, right? So if we know that if someone did it manually, it would take 7 days, and on average they would get 7 million in-game cash out of it, or 1 million or whatever, right? On average. Then what we would do is just say, oh, here's a button. If you click it now, wait 7 days, and then click the claim, and then we add an RNG on top of that, so it's not the same every time, and then that's just what you get. So it just mimics a quite precise average of what you would have gotten if you did it manually yourself.
So just one quick question, just to clarify that. The helper bots is still your character doing the actions. It's not a bot doing the actions for you. It's just scripting your character to do XYZ MNOP at a pre-seed time because you may or may not be at your keyboard.
It's just the way you should probably look at it is if you were ranking manually, you would get, let's say you would get 1% XP for this level. Let's call it the pickpocket level, right? Every time you do a crime, you get 1%. Then you wait 2 minutes, you do a crime again, and if you're successful, you get 1% more. Now you're on 2, and so forth, right? You have to do essentially 100 of those to rank up to the next level, right?
So it's simulating that action and returning a point estimate based on what you would get if you actually did perform that action, right?
It's exactly so. Yeah. If you enable the helper credit and you would say do 100 of these crimes, what would happen is that we know that when a normal player would do hundreds of these crimes, probably 50 of them will fail, and you would go to jail, 30 of them, and then 20 of them will be successful. So this is the average output of a manual person doing that, and we will just mint that exact value or exact numbers to you after you pass that time interval. So you are just buying bundles of XP in basically and in-game currency in exchange for not doing all of the transactions yourself. But the fact of the matter is, even though that is, you also basically pay more in gas for doing it yourself, but the fact that the most important part is that you won't be able to do these things. There's like 20 different ranking actions you can do on a timer, right? It's impossible for you to do all of them. Even someone who sleeps 3 hours a day and goes all in on this game would not be able to beat the helper credit, or someone who builds a hot wallet script that literally just has a interval coded in on the script that just says every 3 minutes call this action, So it will be very important not for you to earn money or anything, only for you to basically defend your ranking XP towards someone else, because this is a game up until to the skies, forever basically. You can rank up for a long time. In 3 years from now, you will still be ranking up your character. That's how long I want it to take. No matter if you put $1 million in, that will not help you.
Ooh.
So Jacob, I've got to ask on a unrelated note, but I've heard a lot of speculation in chat and in some streams over time. And I don't know if you can comment on this, but I'm super interested in hospitals. People have speculated, how is blood going to be introduced in the game, especially with the stratification of blood types and how that's going to impact the price of health and so forth. But is there going to be a bloodmobile going around, or do we go to hospitals and donate blood? Can you even comment on that right now?
Yeah, I can comment on that. So the blood types have been removed, and that's number one. Number two is that blood is equal as to what bullet is. So if someone attacks you and you have, let's say, 100 health bar, now you have 20 health left. Well, then it would be wise of you to spend 80 health tokens on recharging your health. So health is blood. And you buy it from the hospital. You buy it from the owner.
Or it's KoolAid. The bloodmobiles are going to be the KoolAid truck.
Does the health come into the game at a fixed rate, or does it have to be like mined from characters? I didn't know if that was an action that we would participate in.
Health is minted from the hospital contract because it has powers to do that on the token contract. It mints it every time a user pays in-game currency to do so. And that in-game currency is then handed over to the owner of that hospital based on the connector fee, basically. So if you don't have enough connectors, it's running at a not so efficient way, and you are getting a smaller cut, and the protocol is taking a larger cut. So based on how effective your business is, you are basically in charge of how much of the earnings you are keeping for yourself and how much goes to the protocol. And all businesses will have earnings, right? Roulette tables, the bullet factories would be those that are earned the most, is my guess. And because they sell the most powerful thing there is. And then all of the other bits, like detective agency, every time someone needs to find someone, they need to pay whoever owns the detective agency, right? And again, based on how many connectors the owners has to that, they are getting a larger amount of that income, and that goes straight to their pockets. And that inflation, or that fee that someone paid them, they can take that and sell it straight on the exchange. So it's like having a business that is actually generating a USD profit. It might be small, but over time and based on increased activity, you can have a business that earns a significant USD amount a day. Everything is relational, of course, but
Sure, yeah, that makes sense. Fury. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, Archie. Just quickly. Question in the chat there, Jacob. Does your character have max health based on rank, or is it just however many you want?
No, your character does have a max health, and it's the same no matter what rank you have.
Okay.
So imagine that you bought 10,000 health on the market. Doesn't really change anything. It just means that you have a large stock that you can use. Imagine that it's kind of the same as water, right? If everything goes bad and you have a stockpile of water, right? It's just for you to use over time, and in a necessity situation, you cannot have 500 health, right? So it's just a stock that you can use whenever you see fit if you decided to have more than 100, because you can only have 100 at any time.
Mhm.
But let's just I just quickly want to say that 100 might not be the real number in the game, but it's just as an example when I'm speaking. It might be 1,000 you need to as the default size of a health bar, right?
And so you just refill your health bar using the hearts, from the
Yes.
market.
Yes, and if you have them, great. But if you don't, you probably have to go to the hospital and buy it off the owner of the hospital.
And are you able to refill your health in the moment, like when somebody attacks you in that moment, or do you have to be away from a conflict in order
No,
to refill your
that's a
health?
manual task. Refilling health is a manual task, and not even the helper credit will help you with that. So if someone attacks you, if you're not there and if you didn't get the memo, you're in big trouble, because recharging your health will only be a manual action.
And do you bleed? For instance, like after you get attacked, and let's say you're asleep and you can't tend to your character right away. Let's say you survive the attack,
Mhm.
bleeding profusely. Will that eventually kill you?
No, there's nothing intended like that. It's imagine you have a 0 to 100 like in a fighting game, and if I make an attack, the kill contract maybe makes a calculation and says you lost 79 health points. You survived, but now you lost X amount of assets in that attack, your bodyguards and all sorts of stuff, and you ended up on, let's say, 21 health, right? And then you have to go and acquire those on the market to recharge it, because if a secondary attack is coming in, now it's a sure kill, because you're
Yeah.
vulnerable. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no damage over time then.
No, you can live on one health. If you make a unlucky heist and you crash in a car and you lose everything, you could you could be on one health, and you could do that for 1 year as long as nobody touches you with a feather, right?
Well, that's living on the edge right there. I mean,
Yes.
one health.
Definitely. Wouldn't be
How
advisable.
long do these attacks take? I know it depends on how much defense you have, but if it was, would you expect if you're being attacked, you're going to be killed off in 10 minutes or an hour or?
So let's say a guy like Crypto KoolAid over at Pulsechain, he sees himself very angry on a weak profile. He would be able to kill that profile in a single transaction. So the 12 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever that the block time is, he would wipe out that account and steal all of the assets. It's just one transaction. You go, as long as you have the correct setup, right? You are in the same city of the wallet you want to attack. Your detective has found the wallet. You go, fill out the necessary requirements, fill out how many bullets you want to shoot. You click confirm the transaction in MetaMask or Rabby. You click confirm, and the next block will show you the outcome of what happened. So that person is either you're both dead, or one is dead, or none is dead.
So if I'm driving
Just like
around in
that.
my Kool-Aid Bloodmobile,
That's
or my,
nerve-wracking, isn't it?
or my arena car, which clearly would be a armored car, is that nested in between a bulletproof vest or a bulletproof suit? Clearly, you can't have both, though I'm joking. It would be funny. When you are in transit in a bulletproof car, are you double protected because the car is in transit? And then if you had multiple cars, could you transfer to multiple cars to always be moving and always be protected at that time?
Well, I think you should see it as your character has a set of items enabled at all times, and some of them are just backup items that are either equally as strong or less strong, and you could equip those later in a second round or only if necessary. So it is kind of a scenario where you get attacked and you have this equipment put forth, and then if you survive and it was a serious attack, you might have lost all of that equipment. So you lose the car, you lose the Remington, you lose the house or whatever in that attack, but at least your profile survived. And
Sure.
had you not had those assets, you would basically be a naked player just taking all of the bullets straight on. Because what happens is, if your attacker is filling out, I want to spend 100k bullets on this, right, that has a capital value. He could have sold those 100k bullets instead, right? But that person is now shooting 100k bullets towards you. If you don't have any of these assets, that's your profile taking 100k bullets straight to the face. But
Right.
if you put up a car, you put up different assets, those bullets has to kind of eat through those defense values of those items before. So that 100k might be 66 when it arrives at your face, right?
Right.
And that is, and what will happen is that you would want to replace those items as you are getting attacked, so that, because I would expect that serious players of this will be, they would make sequenced attacks, so that if you get attacked from a significant family of player, you could immediately expect a secondary attack incoming, and that's why safe house exists in the first place, right? Because they will be chopping you down most likely.
Sure.
Um,
Levels of durability, right? So it has to eat through each
Yeah.
different cast of levels of durability.
So the question becomes, for how long time can you just sit there and just refill your assets, right? Buy new health, maybe even, get a new car, get a new armor, get a new, all of these defensive items, and even the bodyguards, right? Can you just sit there and take the heat? Are you just going to accept that people are just going to shoot your money out of existence, right? Or what are you going to do about it, right? So this scenario will happen, obviously, and it will be interesting to see. And that's why I've always said that the best wins are those that happen on Telegram, right? The wins on the writing table.
Sure. So accessing a safe house, it's not a geographical location on where I am at any point in time, or is it something that I can immediately queue into at any point in time, basically be transported there?
It's something that all cities offer and is owned by the protocol. So anyone who wants to do that, it might cost, 1 million in-game cash every 10 minutes. And you can go there and you can stay there for a long time, but you are deflating the currency for everyone else's benefit, just because you want to hide and you want to save yourself. You could actually hide if you were a coward, right? You could let your family just, be at war for 3 days and see the outcome, and they just come, like a chicken jumping out of the closet, right? Hey, I'm here, guys. I'm back. What happened? I didn't even notice. Sorry. Just spend all of your money in safe house, right? I think
Hey, Jacob,
that's going to be interesting scenarios.
Hey, zooming out just a little bit. So we know that the last pieces of the exchange are coming. You had mentioned that a couple of days ago, that those will be within 14 days. And then beyond that, we've got the map. Huge thing, as we all know. A step beyond that, I think, on the roadmap still is the pre-ranking. So does that pre-ranking speak to some of the refactoring of player worth and family worth that I had mentioned earlier, as it relates to honor and skills and all of that other stuff? Or is that something entirely different?
No, the pre-ranking will basically be a early adopter's way of getting a head start in the game. But it's not like it would not force anyone to think that the game is over because they are not at that stage, right? It's very important that we have a game where someone from the outside can look in and see all of these amazing players and not think that the game is over, right? It needs to be this balance between it's always appealing and it always seems like I can actually reach a position where I get this yield payout, or I do this, I have this successful side gig over here doing some stuff, right? And that balance we always want to have our focus on and we want to maintain.
Sure. Can you comment on what specifically that might include, like maybe in general terms?
So, for instance, the ranking obviously is the single most powerful one. And here with the pre-ranking, what we will do is that we will allow your accounts to start experiencing what it means to actually play the game. Because obviously it doesn't mean that you can go kill someone, but now you can get a hang of, how much XP are we actually earning by doing these tasks? How does it look when the protocol inflates for a successful crime? And you can see that different accounts have different ranks and all that kind of stuff, and active players will outrank leftover alts and all of that, because now it's a time requirement, and I think that will generate a small timing advantage for the serious players, but it won't really matter in the long run, because all serious players will end up in the highest rank category, I would say, within reasonable time. But the highest ranked rank category, just have an infinite rank XP within it, right?
So functionally, it's like a soft opening to the game. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I would say so. It's just a way of starting everyone's account with when we do the main game launch, everyone's account is basically just going to be pre-filled with all of the data that we have secured during the early adoption phase, which is these 10 points that we're going through now. So what we are doing in reality right now is generating a notebook of all wallets and what they're supposed to have when the game actually goes live.
Okay, that's helpful.
So one more question. I'm looking at the target rank between -5 and +3. Are we looking at Dawn clearly as one rank, Consigliere, and I can never pronounce all the names correctly, but the 3 top heads as 3 different ranks, and then Capos as the 4th?
Well, the ranks that you should use as the reference are those you can see on the wiki, and I think the point is just called ranks. Number 1 there, you have the top one is the Godfather, a rank only achievable if you are Dawn, and then 5 up or 3 up and 5 down, right? So meaning that you cannot just have a useless alt that tests the backfire of a Dawn and waste their money. You actually have to commit a quite significant profile to do that, because you can only shoot up 3. So it would actually be a local chief, and if you shoot at a powerful Dawn, you're making enemies, my friend, right? So that profile is probably dead in the water. It doesn't matter if you shoot 1 bullet or 100,000 bullets. Now that Dawn would know that you're trying to kill him, right, and playing games. So
right.
Yeah, so it will be very expensive to play these kind of games, but if executed in a strategic and smart fashion, you can definitely get more out of it than you spend on it, right? There's also a scenario where you get less out of it than you spend on it, but that's kind of life in reality as well, right? You make decisions, and sometimes they are very good, other times they didn't turn out how you expected, because the fact of the matter is that we will keep the pocket cash anonymous, and you don't know if someone is running around with $1 billion in cash at any time. It could be someone that you didn't expect, and then you just kill someone just because they maybe have something else going on, and boom, what happened? I just got $1 billion in in-game cash because I killed someone, right? So there will be this kind of speculation onto which users have a lot of money, and they will obviously be interesting targets for maybe hitmen or hired for money, or people just doing this solely for business in in-game currency.
Sure. And with the 3 null nodes, I've made silly speculations about it for a while between Made Man, Hitman, and Assassin. All that's going to be getting mixed up, I assume, when we get to pre-ranking, right? Not to step on a EA design doc stuff.
I don't think I can comment on that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I understand. I'm living in your boat on the other side of the boat as well.
There's going to be three tokens that are that can be on just everyday dexes, right? The Mafia token, bullets, and health. Just for reference, because we're launching the OTC, could we see those tokens being swapped back and forth on dexes as well as OTCs? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that bullets especially will become something that people want to spend in bulk and lots of money on, because if you're in a scenario where there's a big family war coming up, usually it would be looming, right? It would be kind of an odd feeling in the air, and then there's a big family war coming, and in that scenario, a lot of people they have a lot of wealth to protect, and actually the outcome of that war could mean a lot of money to the upside as well, because if you removed the number one and became the number one yourself, and maybe now your secondary family became number two, you just increased your payout significantly. And so what we want to do is create an incentive for people to actually, if done correctly, can make money of doing these war actions, because the protocol becomes healthier through activity, right? Deflation and paying fees and all of these things. So to answer your question is that during these times, people will need a lot of bullets. And the bullet factories, they are only printing the same amount, all the time. They are printing a fixed amount every day, but the demand will vary. The demand will be flexible. So during, building up to wars where people are stocking up on bullets because powerful accounts will probably need to kill many other accounts, and they need to fire maybe max amount every time, right? If it's a significant war. So you would be able to make maybe OTC deals with someone who is just, I don't want to have anything to do with the game. I just want to sit on assets that other people might need in the future. Right, so someone might speculate on bullets and buy a big bag outside of the game and never deploy them to the game and only let other people do that. So they could be a custom of yours, Triplet, that for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, bud.
And when you get attacked, there's a chance that obviously since you're getting attacked, you can die, but there's also a chance that you can survive and also make money, right? Like there's a scenario where you get attacked, but the outcome was that person failed, you survived, and you also gained an asset or gained money in some way.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is that the clever player here would probably transfer out their own in-game liquid balance to their alt before attacking if they are unsure. If you're doing a risky kill attempt, you probably wouldn't have all of your fancy items that don't. If you have 10 million in your wallet or 100 million in your wallet, that has zero impact on your success of a kill. That's not one of the metrics to how successful you are in your killing, right? So would you want to potentially do a risky kill where you can die in a backfire and have 100 million in in-game cash, or do you want to transfer that to your alternative player before you make that in-game attack, right? So I think that what's going to happen is that people will plan these things down into the small details to optimize, basically.
Cool.
Hey, Jacob, jumping back to... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on, Archie. You're fine.
Oh, this should be pretty quick. Jumping back to Max's earlier question about the disposition of the 8 headquarters in each city. I know a lot of thought probably went into how those were placed, as you'd mentioned. A few questions on that. These should be pretty simple. One, with respect to the tiles themselves, earlier today, I was trying to calculate what's the probability of actually getting a connected tile. And so I did that over like a series of connections. But that was predicated on those tiles being hexagon shaped. Are those square or are they hexagon? I guess
they're square. They're square.
They're square.
Yeah.
Okay. The second question is, as it relates, you'd mentioned constraints around each headquarter, and those being variable from location to location. Are those constraints based on the number of connecting tiles? 1 level out, 2 levels out, 3 levels out, and so on from that headquarters?
Yes. So basically, all city designs have either 3, 4, or 5 strategic tiles that are the only way out for the family headquarter. Meaning that imagine you have a family headquarter and there's only 1 connecting tile to that headquarter simply because of protocol elements such as roads and nature and water, right? So there's only 1 tile that connects to that headquarter. In other ways, that family needs that tile because that's the only way they can increase their family HQ size. And that goes on for a minimum of 3 tiles where each new tile only has 1 connector. So you're generating this basically a path of weakness to the family headquarters. But that path of weakness varies between cities. In some cities, it's only 3. In other cities, it's 5. But I don't think that changes much because when an enemy attacks you, if they just remove 1 of them, you would be thrown into wall suspension immediately. So if there's 3 or 5, it is a... I like that there's a difference across cities, but it's not that big of a game mechanic change, I don't feel like.
It wouldn't be, I mean, even if there's 3, right? If there's, I think the probability of getting one specific tile. Well, actually, no, I don't know what it is now because I calculated it based on hexagons. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, but I think overall there's like obviously the chance of you just opening the exact connector tile that you need is very slim, right? It's like bullet factory slim, obviously. But what will happen is that I think all of the slots will get owned by users. So someone is going to own what you need, right? And either you communicate with them or you kill them. You know, it's that simple.
Is there
You
any
can
way
do
that
this
they
the
could
easy
perpetually
way or the
lock that
hard
item
way?
up?
Yes, exactly. Well, with the in-game communication system, we will build a way where you can literally send a message that will give a notification to them and all sorts of stuff, right? Because what we don't want is just someone just sitting on critical infrastructure that just goes, you know, AFK or goes away for 6 months. But obviously, the game launch will solve that, where you can literally just shoot you towards whatever ownership you want.
Okay.
Cool.
But just one quick point is that
yeah.
it wouldn't always be more economically viable to shoot your way towards what you want, because you have to really ask what the seller is asking, right? The seller might ask a X amount of dollar value for a very strategic, important tile to the syndicate, and you might refuse that. But the fact of the matter is that if you're going to spend the double in bullets, then who took the right end of the deal, right? Maybe you're setting a example, and that could be valuable to you for sure. But if you could buy it for $500 or spend $1,700 shooting it from them, that's obviously something that you have to take into consideration, because attacking will not be free, only if you're shooting very small, irrelevant accounts. And everyone who participates in the early access will not be a small, irrelevant accounts. That would be all of those starting all over, in many months from now, those that come to the system through marketing.
So one of the things that we talked about way back when is that when game goes live, the crates will no longer have shop-based items, because I assume those items will be moved to the shop to buy a I don't know, an armored car or a bulletproof vest. Is that how that was planned in that itemization? I know that was a little bit of a gray area while you've been working through all this type of stuff, and not sure if
yes, it is for sure. What we want to do is make the business items desirable, right? They need to be mechanics that earn a in-game cash income to the owner. And the only way we can do that is by moving what the crate is currently offering into the businesses. So the entire category on the crates right now that says shop items, that will literally just be an in-game store in each city. And whoever is the owner, if you go to that store, you might be in a scenario where someone just attacked you and you lost your gun and you lost your your grenades or whatever it is, shop items, and you don't have the time to travel to your own city where someone in your family is going to get the fee from that purchase. So you just go to whatever city's shop you are in right now and you buy new stuff, right? But then the owner gets all of that money, and that might be an owner of a competing family. But based on time sensitive and the situation, I think more people will do that than go to their own related shop to actually purchase. But essentially what we're doing, what I was trying to say, is that we are moving out income opportunities from the crate system into the business items. And the best example is the bullets, right? Right now, opening a crate can give you bullets. When we're live, those only come from the bullet factory, meaning that they won't be in the crates anymore. So now any bullet that comes to life, someone who owned that item would have gotten a fee from that, right? Because you are the benefactor.
Yeah, and will the capos still get their bullet staking rewards when game goes live?
No, that will be changed. The capo income will not be bullets. The capo income will be a share of all of the in-game currency that their capo regime members are earning weekly. So if you have a very active users that is doing all sorts of stuff, and let's say they made 1 million in-game currency that week, that capo automatically will get 10% of that, let's say. So it will be exchanged to in-game currency when we start.
No, that makes sense. And then it's just because you mentioned grenades, do we have any factor? I assume this is going to come when we get later on in the game on what the damage constraint or use case of those two particular mechanics are, because they're very different from guns that have bullets. I'll just stipulate on that.
Yeah, all of those mechanics and data values and power values, I think, will be not available basically until game launch.
That makes sense. Yep.
Okay, guys, I think I have 5 more questions in me. Then I have to go. So,
okay, I like to jump in. A couple of weeks ago, Jacob, when we were talking about when we decide to go to base, because you said this launching on base should be relatively straightforward because obviously it's EVM and all the rest of it. You were saying that to try and get us catapulted to where we need to be regarding vault values over on base, that we would have changes to the adoption lobby. I mentioned it on my stream, but I haven't had much pushback from anyone in the community about it, or any questions actually at all. So would you like to run through it now that we have a lot of the dons on?
Yes, I guess so. That would be a good time. So what we were thinking generally is that we don't want to just make a clone and reward everyone that's on BNB and Pulse, and then they are just the exact same whales and people and players over at base. What we really want is maybe give them a small incentive to come over and play, but not something that is significant, because I personally think the true value here is if we actually get a base native community to take over that part, instead of just having a ghost of a pulse chain community acting over at base chain, right? So what I want to do is give a small incentive to the existing players, but then make over at base some sort of adoption lobby where we pre-seed the vault, where we do something in a way so that people can, if they want, participate in the early access of the game. And one thing we thought about was that we have to distribute the tokens in one way or another, right? And you can look right now what the tokens are worth on Pulse Chain and BNB, and then, obviously they're not going to be worthless over at base, especially not if we put in an effort for marketing. Because truth is, we have a presence on BNB and Pulse Chain, but we would have to build up an entire presence over at base, so that will cost marketing, right, more than we have done before, I think. So if we do it, it's because we're committing to that part as well. So what we were thinking was that, imagine a scenario where if you put in $100 into the base adoption lobby, you would immediately get $100 worth of keys for base Mafia. But as a bonus, you also get a part of the total distribution of the tokens. So just like a normal sacrifice, except you get a complete copy in the value of keys. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal. So even if the token never becomes worth a single cent, which it obviously will, you would have basically gotten it for free anyways. So if you're serious about playing the game over there, I want to compete or give it a go because maybe you think that marketing we're going to do over there will catch attention, and maybe base Mafia will, the right person will see it and share it with the right person, and who knows, suddenly we're on everyone's radar, right? Sometimes this viral thing is so random in some ways as well. It's not just a clear path to pay this bill and then you become viral, right? Sometimes it is the small random things. But if that happens, then obviously those tokens will end up having a significant value. And now you have a player in a game that might be bigger than any of the other chains, right? So that's the way we're looking at it. And what we would do is probably just make a timed adoption lobby. Let's say it runs for 30 days, 60 days. And if there's $10 that comes in, then be it, because we can deploy the game in 24 hours. So if people think that base Mafia is worth $24, then that's fine with me. We'll start the entire market cap at $24, and those dollars will be distributed the entire 1 billion token supply, right? But obviously that's not going to happen. So people are going to put a higher price tag on it, and if you're serious about giving it a shot over there, you probably would need keys in the future, because you know what's going to happen, right? Item crates, land tiles, and all of that. So I think the early adoption lobby for base chain is an interesting opportunity if you have an idea that you probably want to play it anyways, because then you're just getting $2, 2 bangs for your buck. So that's our current plan. It's not set in stone, and this will happen after the map update and after the deposit and exchange update, because I really want to use that in some ways to showcase and kind of catapult how great this game can potentially be when we then present it to, you know, the 100x more volume and activity that we see on the base chain. So the more polished we can make it now, I think the more initial success we can have over at yeah.
It's very wise.
That's the current idea, and nothing is set in stone.
And Jacob, just a little side note here. I actually just sent you a contact info for someone who has a pretty big base following, affiliates on there that I'm sure would be really interested in broadcasting this platform out to their base community.
Exactly, like that is stuff we need, right? Because I have somewhat of a presence at Pulsechain and an even smaller presence at BNB, and I have a -degree presence over at Base. So we are literally starting from scratch, and that will be a hindrance for the adoption lobby, I'm quite sure. But you know, let's see. We have some plans around that, and I think that with the right people, as you are proposing here, that we can definitely make some good things happen. We need it. You know?
Well, on top of that, because I can say things that you can't, Jacob, and I've got it's called a pedigree of being a game dev for 18 years. I can hop on with their streamers and with Colt, and then we can start to break it down a little bit more systematically and systemically to what we want to see, what we've seen over the last 6 months of marketing over here. So I think that's going to be the core component, is getting eyeballs and then describing the interest, because obviously you're busy doing the work, so you won't be able to do hands-on type of stuff. So between me and Colt, and maybe even Archie can pop on over there, because we make a good counter comparison on how we talk and how we speak. We can help get that virality out there.
That would be beautiful. Thank you very much. And I think that with that also being very valuable, I also think we need, as Cuban suggested, we either pay our way into someone's attention, right, or even use our networking of those who are already confident about the protocol to kind of vouch for it and then give us some connections that we can utilize in our benefit, right? I think it has to be probably a mix of all of that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Any last Yeah, come again, Richie.
I'm still not convinced about Base for GameFi. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
It's just, for me, it seems like over 2/3 of the TVL is tied up in DeFi, essentially yield farming dexes, lending, these kind of that kind of financial DeFi side. But in terms of passive like gamified DeFi or GameFi or play to game kind of thing, I haven't really seen much action over there and much community yet.
Well, I mean, that's where you really take the parameter of play and earn and then wrap it into what it will be. So the next extension off of GameFi, which is DeFi wrapped in a game, is going to be SocialFi, which is going to be playing a game in which your pedigree, prestige, and or utility is that you got from earning your rank in that system. So that's just
that's also one of the beauties of Pulse Chain, right? Due to the transaction fees and the community that we've all built up here, there are some protocols that are using Pulse Chain as a test net for other EVMs, right? So I see a lot of that going on right now, and a lot of other protocols that are within the Pulse Chain community. We've established our path, and we've garnered a community, and now we're going to move to the next step. And people are going all over the place now. Well, there's a couple of RDAPs that are going to be probably on that as well.
Hey, Archie, you're doing some feedback. Meet up, buddy.
Oh, my bad.
Okay.
I think he dropped his mic in the bathtub or something.
It's that liquor bowl that he's going to be drinking with me.
My cat has my AirPods in right now, so he's running around with it.
Okay, guys. I think I will leave it here. And thank you very much for your awesome questions and the great turnout. And I'm very happy with how it went. And obviously, we are all looking very much forward to the map update. It will be absolutely incredible. There will be so much game mechanics, so much to do, so many interesting strategies, so much speculation, so much visual stuff to share, so many videos to make. It will be a massive catapult into the next stage of Mafia, I would say, and I'm really looking forward to present to all of you what we have been cooking on. Obviously, we have spent at this point, I think, 3 months or more doing it full time for 5 people, so it's going to be a significant product, and we have some good things in store for you.
Excellent.
Awesome, Jacob. Thank you so much.
Yep,
This has been great.
Looking forward to it, buddy.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.
It's that Archie's mom's making him popcorn.
Yeah, Archie's going downhill right here. Actually, Archie's the character Mike is getting attacked.
Right. I'm also going to have to split. Nice to meet you all. First time meeting you.
Likewise,
Nice to
Richie.
meet you. Quick question. Was that pulsar.win? That's right?
Yes. That's going to be where we're building the TitanX community. Build on TitanX, bringing that to
All right, cool.
Pulse
I'm gonna
chain.
have to
Now
read
for the
that.
main site, it's right now we're dealing with domain transfers and such. That's going to be at pulsar.giffordware.win, but you can reach out to the pulsar.win domain. We're tidying up from last bit stuff that Jake needs.
Cool. I'm going to give a read of that. Okay, I'm going to split.
All right, Richie. Thanks very much, brother. Be in touch.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Cool. So, what did you guys think of that?
Great
awesome.
stream, man. I mean, this is the longest Mafia live stream I've been a part of. So it's
welcome aboard.
5-hour one, so we got him trained up. It's definitely the longest one we've had Jacob on concurrently.
so much alpha there, man. I love it.
Yeah. I will. I'll take this and I'll create a bunch of clips based around all the questions, so we can have it in bite-sized pieces, and we can literally spread it around to everyone as well.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah,
Super
yeah,
easy to search on too on the Pulse Tube. It's a fantastic job that DYOR did with that. So really easy to get information that way.
What is that noise?
That's horrific.
It's Archie's mic. I can see it.
Is that coming from me? I think my AirPods are dying, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and jump off. But thanks.
All right.
Nice to meet you. All right.
All right. Good luck.
That's how you know he's being attacked. He's got too many cameras to watch out for his earbuds.
Character
drawn
works
down.
all of his armor and ends up naked. Is there any place on the strip where he can make some money naked?
I mean, there's always money in Vegas for Archie to make money. All you got to do is dancing, bob, and weave.
I'm sure there'll be some new businesses introduced as the game starts to
100%.
unfold
I
properly.
guarantee you they will.
Yeah.
No. So this is, you have core mechanics, and then you have what's expressed into DLC or V2 or like all the rest of that. But this is not like a normal game. This is a live service game. With a live service game, there's always adaptations that come down the pipe. So we'll see all the rest of that. So Cuban, first time seeing you in there, and then Triplet Dad, first time I've seen you on a Mafia stream. What do you guys think? And do you have any questions from the non-core on this project, game dev?
I mean, there's been so much information that has just been divulged in the past 2 hours. It's going to take a bit for me to digest it, understand it, relay it back to my team, which they're all eagerly watching this stream as well. Formulating their own strategies and concepts on what they want to do in the game, how they want to defend, how they want to attack, what sort of assets they want to accrue. But it's a really, really fun concept, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it evolves and how it develops. But this can go so many different ways, but all of them are money. Every single way that I see this game going is just generating revenue in different ways, generating interest, generating hype within the crypto space in general. And to go over what Richie was saying about base, that he says, it's mostly just comprised of just a bunch of like DeFi passive income stuff. I mean, my opinion is that those users need something to do with all those passive income gains.
Sure.
And I think this game right here could definitely fit that bill for them.
I don't disagree.
Tremendous
And
amount of potential.
I think chatting with me is a very easy use case because, again, I've been doing this most of my life, or almost 2 decades now. By the way, if you check the private chat, Cuban, I sent you a link to my real work. And sometimes people don't understand the benefits of fake reality, or why play and earn, not play to earn, because that was the first one to smack down that statement for the better preface of what it is, because GameFi is DeFi wrapped in a game. But more importantly, instead of you looking at a 5-minute chart or looking at what your yield or ROI is, you're engaging in something that entertains you. And when you get paid to be entertained, you have perfect market fit, not product market fit. And that's where it actually scales in levels of engagement, understanding, prestige, and prosperity, and all of those other things that come into play. And because, I mean, day one, Gifford brought this to me, and I kind of cried in my heart because I had been working on in my head something that was drug wars or dope wars. And then, God, 12 years ago, I built something called Pimp, which is, instead of gangster shit, it was hookers and blow. Very, very similar. But I understood the intrinsic mechanics on how it all folds together, both from a live game design document or, more importantly, what's actually achievable. Because that's the one problem, especially in games or entertainment. You want to do all these lofty things, but getting across the finish line is very, very hard. In game dev, it's even harder because you're on a 5-year development cycle. They want to be pushed out in 2.5 years, et cetera, et cetera. But all of this is achievable. It's a large load to move, but it's not impossible. And that was the biggest thing when Pulse Mafia's page launched on day one, that I looked over it all. I'm like, this can actually be pulled off. It actually has legs, and it actually has milestone achievements that can be completed within a reasonable amount of time, because people in crypto, all they want to do is ask when. They want quickly over quality. In games, you have to do quality. Otherwise, it's just subpar, and you can't really come back from a subpar watered down game.
Do you guys have any idea when the gameplay actually starts, or like an estimate, 6 months, something like that?
I mean, if map actually launches, where are we in, almost end of October? And I don't like to give any of these type of projections because A, it's rude to the development team, and I don't like to be rude. But with my professional experience, seeing how we've gone from A to let's just call it A to T instead of A to Z, I could see us being done by February, maybe sooner. But again, like I look at 5-year cycles on video games, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's my career. It's 5 years to make a game, 2.5 years for the studio to be closed down, you'd be laid off. So the cadence is fantastic what they're doing, especially while trying to level up the user experience, the expandability, and the locality that someone can play with a localized, let's say, lifespan of a game to have 4, 6, 8 years of engagement to level up and, you know, kill or be killed, or not, to come to user arrangements. Realistically, this is a cross between Civilization and SimCity, along with Dope Wars or Drug Wars, along with an ecology and economy that can both eclipse the token price. Like, that's a very, very easy thing, that your encounters and actions in the game can actually earn you more than what buying the token and riding pumps on that is. The token.
Yeah, my head was going StarCraft and Risk.
Sure.
Combined a little bit.
Absolutely. Those are my favorite games right there when we're talking about real-time strategy.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite stuff.
Sure. So with Risk, I'm sorry, with
the better part of 2 years, right? 3 years almost, putting out 8 dApps, right? On 2 different chains. We're going to be on Ethereum and Pulse chain. I know the pressure that these guys are under to get something out. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Right. Well, that's just the brutal on the dApp part. Now, remember, just because a game gets through certification does not make it fun. And that is the most important thing about dealing with this particular gem, is just because it does what it's supposed to do doesn't mean it's good. And this is the thing that all game devs have to do. Just because your film gets compiled, cut, has VFX, post, audio, and all the rest of that, doesn't mean necessarily good. Like if the ending of a film is bad, it doesn't matter how much money was put into the pre-production. And so when you're dealing with entertainment, it is a little bit different, but it also has scalability and evergreen timeline that you're not going to get in just a DApp. Because with the DApp, people are looking at charts, people are looking at ROI, they're gimme, 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 gimme. But in a game, you're being entertained and you get all of that. So because you're engrossed and engaged, all the rest of that's in the back of your mind. You're like, I'm getting all of this extra perks, but I'm actually having fun. And you're building camaraderie and community. And that's the coolest thing about this is a very interesting simulation and a team building exercise, right? And so like it's really cool. Long tail, I'd love to see what happens cross chain rates. Like having the Mafia on multiple chains, cool. But if we can go raid other chains, that means relationships on one chain can have an addendum factor on that continent of that. It's called a shard because that's what the terms would be on different builds. It would be a shard of the game on this side, but the shard on the other side could kill or be killed. Just in between like Pulse Mafia and B&B Mafia, the tenements between the families or the, let's just say, drama is vastly different. And so you can see a very different way to play this on Base or Solana or all the rest of those type of things. So it's very interesting evergreen on how it could be scalable.
I was on with KvltDeFi, I believe, while you were in the desert. Talking
that's right. Yeah, Burning Man.
From your perspective, having been in my situation, having been doing all this crap for the last couple of years and wanting to take some time off and being too busy to stay on top of other projects and that sort of thing. I don't feel like I could be a reliable member of a family, right? So from your perspective, what would be my participation in this? I know
ideally the problem with playing the game for the sub-ecology and economy, that means you're a target. Now, theoretically, if you're in a family, you have an umbrella of protection throughout that relationship. Now, I know I don't want to get into the particulars on Pulse Mafia, but let's just say that all of us have been discussing the best way to put this game into evergreen content rather than to personal need base, which is what you have with dumpers, right? When you have someone that rides up a token a whole bunch, they're not even going to pull LP out to do single side liquidity. They're just going to press a big red candle, which makes other people press the big red candle. Yes, that does do something from a gamification of making something deflationary to delete those assets, but that's not necessarily the greatest simulation for longevity in certain situations. So for yourself, sir, like you could join a family and have the umbrella of protection, but if you don't want to even take that inherent risk whatsoever, you could just buy the token. That is the benefit of having the ecology and the economy of the game being built underneath the token. So those that are playing the game can earn the cash, can earn all the rest of that, can build that yield-based parameter because of their cities or their land tiles or their businesses, can stack all the rest of that. And those can be killed or be killed, but you still have that same parameter of being liquidated with a liquid loans or a Power City, where you're doing, an algo stablecoin and someone is pressing the red candle to make it where loans are liquidated. So then they can come in and, retake about that. It's also kind of a game. So it depends on how you're itemizing it. So if you didn't care about it itself, owning Mafia on multiple different chains would be a very wise solution.
And bullets and health. I think bullets and health
I could go
are so underrated. It's unbelievable.
But the whole difference is that Mafia itself is capped in a token supply. Bullets and health will go up and down based on the bullet factories and the regeneration of each city's economy and ecology. But Mafia is capped, and Mafia is required for all of the other, let's call it passporting into different countries and ecosystems. So you want to do both. So if you're looking more for the arbitrage, bullets and health definitely are there. For something like the long-term play, buying Mafia would be the better way to handle that. And then if you want to take it deeper, you know, you can just take some play money, or you would off, you know, a skim off the top and just see if you like it. And, you know, as long as you're within a well-rounded family that handles business and gets everything done, I don't see there be too much worry to hustle and bustle about. But again, at the end of the day, for the arbitrage side, bullets and health. From the long-term holding side, because there's only a limited amount of that from the Mafia side. And then again, from the virality aspect, if we can get this to like an Alluvium or an Axis Infinity, it's kind of wild what this can do, because I'll tell you what, it's actually shippable. It's actually achievable. Whereas something like ILV or Axie, Jesus Christ, you have to do all the rendering and all the other stuff and all the networking components and all the rest. And like what we have here is technically complex enough, but it's complex enough and achievable with the team that they have, you know, on board, versus something that's not achievable where you've got, you know, 150 employees in-house, 300 people outsourced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and on chains that are affordable to transact on.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's key.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Cool. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being around, man. This has actually been a really, really good chat. KoolAid, did you hear the news that this this game Off the Grid has surpassed Fortnite in downloads?
Which game? This one right here?
Off the Grid?
No. But I mean, I on my second job ago built the creative mode for Fortnite.
Yeah, so Off the Grid it surpassed Fortnite in the number of downloads, and is technically a crypto game, right?
I have not looked into it. I'm already so busy with so many other things. But funny enough, the drum and bass camping out thing I did a couple of weeks was actually called Off the Grid. So
yeah, so I mean that in itself is going to bring, I mean, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people over to crypto gaming, right?
Well, the next step of that, remember, SocialFi is where advert gets involved, and once you get advert involved into wrapping a game on top of a social aspect, on top of DeFi, it gets even more interesting from the Second Life point of view. If Second Life was created today,
perfect.
I just Googled it. It looks awesome.
That game is really, really badass. Definitely look into it. There's a lot of there's another in-game economy in there as well. It's pretty big.
Hold on, let me do my cheat sheet. Who is the parent company that made it?
I'm only good at 50 cal sniper guns on Fortnite.
Well, this is the fun part of being me. So if I go to my LinkedIn, I basically am 2 degrees of separation from all of the Alluvium people or any of the rest of that. So when you have your time in the market of game dev, it's good and bad. He basically sacrificed their life so everybody knows you. But let's see here. Well, we can talk about all those later. I think you're trying to wrap it up. But if we want to do numbers, 1 second. Trying to log in to some stuff and things. I'm curious on the caliber of the team behind it. Because again, I mean, that's why I'm here to help Jacob, is because game devs help game devs. Like this is like a core component of those of us that have suffered in the trenches over 10 years plus, is we help each other, because there's only a certain amount of us in the world. So if I look on LinkedIn, Off Grid, see hospitality companies, but I really need to know what the parent company is. Off the Grid. So it's powered by Gunzilla Games.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's them.
Hold on, we're digging in. We're doing this live. People. Okay, senior developer, I'm a second in. Creative director, I'm a second in. Intermediate, yeah, I'm second to all of these people. I could reach out to anyone on their team and poke them. But I mean, like, again, that's the whole thing about actually working in the real game dev industry. It's 2 degrees of bacon. And so, you know, we all know each other once you've gotten your like tenure chip. Cool.
Perfect. So there we go. So that is definitely something we need to keep an eye on, that, right? Because I'm very interested to see what it's going to do for Web3 gaming specifically, right? What it's going to do for our little corner of the world. Because if we are going to be going over to launch on Base, for example, I'm pretty sure that this game will probably have something to do with Base, because Base is kind of the new kid on the block. It's Coinbase thing. Everyone kind of knows what it is, and it's just going to continue to grow and grow. So that's kind of, if we could get there first, it would be nice.
Sure. Well, there's
So
also the other paradigm that if we get, successful lead and legs in this type of stuff, and Jacob needs more to his team, I can reach out to the family of, the mothership of all game devs in every studio, and he can pretty much have the pick of the litter on whatever type of, employee that he wants, right? It's not like he has to, take Fiverr employees or all the rest of that type of stuff, which the one that he has is making good work. Like it's why I was toying with that mansion. I'm like, how many polys is that? It really doesn't matter because he's doing the top-down render, so it's not going to be skewed. But we have access through my network to every game dev basically in the world, or every community that he wants to make a network work through a partnership. But I mean, that's where shit theoretically gets dangerous, because that's where all the parent companies close shit down and story of my life. But remember, game dev is a very tight-knit community. I mean, my first art director is the current art director for Diablo 4. My last art director is the art director for BioShock 4. So like we're really small knit community.
I'm going to add your name to my my quick dial crypto KoolAid, man, because we got to talk, dude. Because I'm in the process of developing 2 games right now, and I'm sure we've got some pretty interesting conversations.
Yeah, I'll drop my email into a chat here. Just go ahead and shoot me an email.
Cool.
Easiest way.
Perfect. Look at that. That's how we do it. Networking.
We do it.
Beautiful.
All right, guys, we ready to shut it down?
Cool. Yeah, I think so. Hey, 2.5 hours. It's pretty good.
It's good stuff.
Not bad, man. We got you trained up. The 2.5 hours is a blink now.
No way. Yeah, it is a blink of an eye. Cool. Right. I mean, I'll catch up with you all. I mean, individually in the telegrams, I guess. But really, thanks very much. Hey, Triplet, thanks for sticking it through. Thanks for sticking with us.
I enjoy my stay. You guys are always informative. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Cuban, stick by to the green room. We'll chit chat real quick.
All right.
Cool. All right, boys. Guys. Chat.
See you later. Nice meeting you.
Keep that change, you filthy animal.